You tell that pilot that if he pulls another stunt like that, I am going to come up to the cockpit and throttle him.
I was very scared. I'm sure we were all very scared because you don't know when somebody's doing something like this.
Yeah.
So we landed far from the airport, out in the fields somewhere at the airport.
I told the stewardesses, I says, we got to get rid of people on this plane. I says, have the pilot announce all the women and children get off this plane.
He wanted the women and children could leave. Oh, that's right. And he said the men on the right side of the plane could also leave.
All the women and children got off the plane, except one. There was one woman on there. She was hanging on to her husband, her boyfriend, or whatever. She was hanging on to him for dear life. I'm not leaving without you. Yeah, right.
Now, when all these people are getting off, do they see you with the gun?
Oh, at that point there, they know something's going down. Yeah. They know it's a skyjacking going down, hijack. Yeah, at that point there. Yeah. That yeah, they knew at that point there. So what happened? I tell the stewardess to have the pilot announce that all the men, any man, because at that point there, all we have is middle-aged men on that plane. All the women and children, they're gone. So the pilot announces any of the men who have heart problems or taking medications, have high blood pressure, or other health problems, they can leave the plane too.
Because we were so far from the terminal, the girls, the two first class girls, sat in their first class jump seat, and they pulled the slide, and everybody went down the slide. Now I'm sitting in the row ahead of him at this time, so I don't see any, I can see the people getting off basically, but that's it. I don't know how they got to the terminal.
Yeah.
And then it left about 25 men on the left side of the plane. So the captain called back on the interphone and said, ask him if it's all right to let any man who has a heart condition or takes medication. There were 25 men on the left side. And so then when every man stood up, the hijacker says, get some of them back here.
What do you think happened? I can tell you what happened. 100% of the men on that plane jumped up. Oh, they figure that's their key to get off that plane. They figure that's their going.
Their ticket, yeah, to leave.
Yeah. I at that point, I jumped. I flew out of my chair. I must have flew 3 or 4 feet in the air into the center aisle with my gun in my hand, and I'm screaming, "Sit down! Sit down now!"
And so we kind of had to say, some of you guys, you got to stay. You can't all go. And I think we had the young ones were up and out. So we had 13 hostages. And so they were all kind of in a little group basically in the middle of coach area.
Everybody sat down. I told the stewardess, I said, listen, you tell that pilot that if he pulls another stunt like that, I am going to come up to the cockpit and throttle him. I can't have any more of that nonsense. So I said, I want 15 men, 15 healthy men on this plane. So go ahead and count 15 men and get all the others out. There's about 30 men in the plane at that time. So that's what she did. We got 15 men hostages. We got 4 stewardesses. And what's next? Top off the tanks and let's get back up the air.
So we took off again, which the initial note that Jane had handed to the pilot said that he wanted $500,000, $2,500 in a separate pouch, 5 parachutes, 2 harnesses, and a shovel and rope and gloves. I believe that was it. And so in order to give St. Louis enough time to get that much money, we took off and we're just circling around the airport. Well, then I guess they asked if we would leave that airspace. So the captain called back and said, St. Louis is having trouble getting that much money, but American Airlines, our base is in Dallas, and they will have it. So we could go down there and get the money and come back and get the parachutes. So, okay, he couldn't really say no.
Until the FBI in the airplane gets all my shit together. I want 5 parachutes. I want harnesses. I want a barometer, altimeter. I want goggles. And I want $500,000. Okay, let's get all this stuff in the process. So we get up into the air. Boom. We're flying around. Pilot says, is it okay if I get into a different flight path than running around St. Louis? I said, yeah, you can fly anywhere. Go anywhere. So I think it was, 7:30, 8 o'clock. The stewardess came back and she said, they don't have $500,000 in St. Louis. So we're going to have to go elsewhere. And I said, young lady, you can go anywhere place in the world, but we are going to get $500,000. So the decision was made by American Airlines that they would take the plane to Dallas, Fort Worth, the main hub for American Airlines in this country. So we're on the way, we're going at full power. And after about probably 10 minutes, stewardess comes back and she says, they have $100,000 in St. Louis right now. Will you accept that? I said, young lady, you tell them on the ground that if all I thought I was going to get was $500,000, I wouldn't have rolled out of bed this morning. Wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be here. It's going to be $500,000. We're going to go any place to get it in this world. Okay? Now you go tell them that. So she came back in about 5 or 10 minutes. Now we're on our way to Texas all this time. So she comes back and she says,
St. Louis now has everything.
we're attending to St. Louis. I said, yeah, let's go. So we get back to St. Louis.
And we land again.
They start bringing in the stuff.
And so we've got these 13 passengers. So now we're out again in that area. They refer to it as the sabotage area. And so we were out there for quite a while. Now, he took the plane over around 3 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And it's probably about 9:30 at night. Now, in the meantime, at all times, he wanted one of us 4 girls to sit in the row ahead as an immediate hostage. The other 3 of us could either go and talk to the passengers, or we could go and talk to the crew. And every time a new one of us went up there to talk to the crew, they wanted to know, what does he look like? Does he have an accent? And they were trying to describe, identify him. So I was just sitting there. I wasn't talking to him. I was just sitting in the row ahead. And he said, Miss, and I turned around and he said, would you like to sit back here and keep me company? And I said, not really. So I got up and I sat at the window He had his briefcase in the middle. He was on the aisle. So I was trapped in that corner seat. And I sat there for hours and hours. I would say, I don't know, probably 8 hours I was in that seat.
The FBI had the money, the parachutes, the harnesses, all that equipment that I ordered. And passengers were bringing it on board.
At first, we tried to, talk to him like, are we going to go somewhere fun? We're trying to make him happy, keep him happy, and we didn't want to die. And he wouldn't talk. He would talk about us, but he would say nothing about himself. But a little bit of conversation at the beginning. I do recall one time after many hours, Diane said, "I have such a headache." And I was in the corner and I said, "I have a headache." McNally's on my left. He goes, "I've got a headache." So she went to the kit and she got out Tylenol. And Tylenol, back then at least, came in packets of 2. And so she handed me a packet and handed him a packet. And he opened it and he made me take one before he took the other one. So I think he thought, maybe these are knockout pills or something. We're waiting for one fuel truck to refuel the plane. We're waiting for the stairs to arrive. We're waiting for the station wagon that had the parachutes and the money. Each one of these was like 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And then he said, "Tell that guy there in the red pants to get the money and the parachutes, but don't have him look at me."
At one point, they had I asked for a parachute expert. I needed help to figure out how to do this parachute and the harness. And so the guy came aboard. Okay, I asked for a parachute expert. Guy came aboard. I'm questioning him about how this stuff works and everything. And I can see he doesn't know what he's doing. I can. He's an FBI agent.
Jane went up to this guy and she put her hand on his shoulder and she said, "You, sir, are the chosen one." She said, "What?" And so she said, "He wants you to bring the money and the parachutes. Don't look at him." So it took him several trips to bring all that. The money weighed about 46 pounds. I guess he wanted $100 bills, but they had a lot of 20s or 10s or 1s or whatever, but it weighed a lot.
He's on board to disarm me if he has an opportunity. And I got that gun, and nobody tried to even get close to me.